Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Bacon. Welcome to the show, y'all. I'm going to get straight into it. You know, the smoke don't lie, y'all. The smoke does not lie. Look here. Bones had pissed off his own, but they couldn't put and work against him because they didn't want to fracture the group that they were. They wanted to keep that together. So they contracted it out to another group that was known for that, another gang that was known for that. Enough money, they'll do whatever you want them to do. That was common. That is common practice, period. Now, everybody's not privy to that inside information to know that your own would turn on you. But see, Bones had got so arrogant with his mouth, so foul with his mouth, it was like if they didn't do it, if they didn't do this, they felt like he would feel like he can do anything that he wanted to do. Because the membership, a lot of them, they loved him. They liked that bold aggressiveness because it allowed them to do anything that they wanted to do to anybody. Other gangs, peons, of course, all of that. It gave them status. Yeah, it's like having a superstar on your basketball team and make everybody else better. And that because he's on the team and makes you look better, you get a better contract. That's what that is. But those that were up under Bones, directly up under, they knew, nah, this is dangerous. He's got to go. He's run the course of his worth to the organization. So they contracted it out. Now these dudes, they were slick. They'll plan and plot and strategize how to get it. And they did. And they did. And they figured the best way to get it was to get the attention of the police somewhere else because, see, when they do things, they like to get away. They like to get away with it. So now, the deed is done. The deed is done. Everybody's spooked. Everybody's wondering, you know, what really went down? What really turned everybody against this dude that everybody, on the one hand, feared, but at the same time, respected? Everybody's tripping. Everybody's tripping. But see, what you got to understand is that sometimes when you go too far with what you're trying to do and you start to offend people, you going to get, you know what I'm saying, tapped up yourself. You're going to get tapped up yourself. So the guys in the organization that Smoke was in charge of, they start asking questions. They start asking questions. And the individuals that had elevated because Bones had been taken out, they had to come up with a narrative that was going to satisfy the body because everybody's like, we saw who came out of the building. We saw them in the group changing clothes and all this and that. The police done wrote it off. They don't know what happened because in the chaos, they just didn't get to see anything. They didn't identify anybody. You know, none of that kind of stuff. They're not finding any information that can connect anybody to anything, right? And the thing was, the organization didn't care if the police did anything. They wanted to do something on their own. And they felt as though the individuals they saw running out were the ones that were going to have to pay. So the ones that was involved in it being taken care of, they got to lie. They got to lie to them and tell them that we don't know enough. We're going to leave it alone and hope that works. But it didn't. It didn't work at all. You got some of those that were real loyal to Bones. It was like, we know who it was. We going to get them and y'all need to ride with us. And because they were in leadership, you know what I'm saying, up on the Bones, and now they ascended to the leadership of running the organization, they were still new, so they didn't want to fracture. They didn't want to fracture the organization, so they stamped it. They stamped it. They couldn't even go and warn the individuals that things were not going to be the way we planned it. They had already paid them good, and now they were finna go to war with them. So the individuals that pulled it off, they were like, wait a minute, what's going on? You feel me? Because the whispers in the penitentiary are loud. They're loud. So they're hearing all of these things take place, and now they're trying to figure out what is going to happen if we go to war with them. So they decide to throw a Hail Mary and say, wait a minute. We were only doing what we were contracted to do. And now, the 2 or 3 individuals that were behind Bones being butchered like that, their names come up. Their names come up. Everybody's talking. I'm talking about that organization that this is. Everybody's talking like it can't be. But see, they were smart to make sure there was no connection, no paper trail, no nothing. No nothing. See, when you learn to communicate in those type of ways where people can't trace it back to you, hey man, you're a dangerous person. And they had perfected it. There was no way for the opposition to prove that they had taken money or talked to them in any way, shape, or form. Any way, shape, or form, they could connect back to them in a way that they could do something to them. No way. So now the war is on. But these 3 or 4 individuals, right, that had something to do with that paid off them, they're the target now. They're the target. So they make a quiet pact with the individuals that were loyal to Bone. They said, man, we'll get him and him and him because they are the ones that are behind this. They are the ones that benefited from Bones being taken down. Let us do this and then it'll be peace. They even offered to give him the money back because they were money getters. They would get another contract. They would get some more money. They didn't need a war that could potentially spread all across the state in the penitentiaries and on the streets. They were being double-crossed. So they were willing to do whatever they had to do to get out from under it. See, a lot of y'all that think you know what's going on with organizations, you don't know. You don't know. Because it gets very deep when it's about surviving to the next day. It gets very deep when it's about surviving some treacherous, like boneheaded idea that you done come up with to take somebody out. That stuff don't end the way a lot of people think it ends. It almost never ends. It almost never ends the way you want it to end. It gets twisted. It gets twisted. It gets twisted up to the point to where people say, all right, we got to do something. Yeah, you got to do something. And those dudes that took Bone out, they come hunting. They come, the 3 main dudes, it was 4 of them, but it was 3 main dudes. And all of them had got put into 1, 2, and 3 spots. And they thought they had solidified the organization. They had a lot of dudes behind them because there was a lot of dudes that they didn't like Bone, but it was a lot that did. But whether they liked them or not, they couldn't wrap their brain around somebody doing what they did to them. So now even the ones that were supporting the new 3 tops was looking at them like, man, if you did this, you can't be trusted. You can't have this spot. And if you didn't do it, it's already tainted that you did. You need to step down. And they knew if they ever stepped down, that they were through. So they fought it. They kept fighting it. They calling the town. They're trying to rally support out there. They're trying to rally support with everybody. It wasn't working. They panicked. They panicked because they knew there wasn't no way out of this. Wasn't no way out of this, but they knew they had to do something. They knew they had to do something. But that something wasn't going to be what they wanted to do. So the day came and they had to be confronted. And they were told by the body, look, step down and this will go away. Stay in play, we're going to continue to investigate. They knew that was a slick way of telling them, look, you step down, we won't do nothing to you. If you stay in play and we find out something, anything, we're coming to get you. So they all 4 of them stepped down. And when they stepped down, you know what happened. They went at them. But before they could get at them, they went to the back. And they did the remainder of their sentence back there. They did the remainder of their sentence back there. Because they could not be trusted on the compound. And they knew if they came out on the compound, they were going to be killed. So think about that when you want to get involved in all of this treacherous gang activity. It don't end. It don't end with you doing something to somebody and then they don't get their lick back. Because even if you take them out, somebody's going to be left around that don't like what you did. They might not agree with what the other person did and all of that, but they're not going to like what you did. The game is not fair. Evil does not play fair. You need to get that in your head and just stay away from that. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.